Yeah, I mean, because I started straight out of high school. I
Hmm.
mean, I literally graduated in 1983 and started working with Don Hall straight out of high school.
Hmm.
And that was over at Goldwyn.
Yeah.
Um, and but I mean, I knew all of those guys and every dubbing stage there because
Sure.
Goldwyn was where I grew up.
Well, Goldwyn, I mean, it's a legendary sound department. I mean, all the films that came out of there. I mean, Raiders, Empire, um, is this
Ordinary people.
is Star Wars, Ordinary People. Yeah, Redford mixed there. K.
Yep.
Rose mixed there. Everybody that was stage D.
Hmm.
That was the
That's the
room.
golden stage.
That was the temple. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Ordinary People, when Kay was doing that one,
Mhm.
they had real problems with the dialogue, the recording of the dialogue on that show.
Mhm.
So they went through and they made two passes on recording, like making uh, recordings of the dialogues so that they could cut. They wanted them perfectly identical. And because that movie was such a dialogue laden movie, it really, dad, that was probably one of the toughest mixes he ever did because it was pretty much all on him,
Mhm.
except
Yeah.
for, your basic music cues and effects cues. But it was just, it's a fantastic movie, but one you have to definitely watch when you're in a good mood because
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
it's
Uh,
very intense.
Vicky Sampson, who worked with her mom, Kay Rose, cutting the dialogue on that, talks a bit about it in that the documentary, Midge Constance documentary, Making Waves, and they actually show a before and after of some of the scenes, some of the quieter scenes, and apparently it was like the psychiatrist's office was filmed like next door to like a glass factory or something like that.
It
So
was brutal.
it was just ridiculous. It was just all the noise. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was really brutal. And the kind of the funny side story to that is when, because they were done in the same year as Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so when um Redford won for Best Picture that year,
Mm-hmm.
and he had given my dad a Dunhill lighter because at the time my dad was still smoking a
Mm-hmm.
Dunhill lighter, white gold, and on the top of the lighter it says thanks BVOP and then RR, you
Yeah.
know, basically for the mix. When dad's name was announced, because he handed the lighter to my mom at the award show, and
Mm-hmm.
when his name was announced, you first of all you can hear her scream in the recording of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
she threw the lighter. She threw her hands up and she threw the lighter.
Oh
It's
my
actually
gosh.
amazing that it didn't kill somebody
Oh my
because they're
God.
very Dunhills are very, very heavy.
Oh my.
So once the award show was done, they're all down on their hands and knees trying to find this lighter. They
Yeah, yeah.
did,
They did
but
find it. Okay.
yeah, they did find it.
Wow.
But it was kind of neat because dad had worked with Robert that year, and in fact, that was still at the Academy Awards when the at the very end of the show they had all the
Everybody
winners
come
still
up.
walk up on stage,
Yeah.
and Robert walked over to my dad, and they kind of both
Oh.
congratulated each other.
Well, I know Redford was really appreciative of Kay and Bill's work on that.
Oh,
It was,
Kay's work on that movie
yeah.
was absolutely brilliant. I mean,
Um.
Yeah.
crazy brilliant.
See,
And it
no. I go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and edited by the famous Verna Fields.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
Mama
There
Joe.
you go. There you
Mm-hmm.
go.
Yep.
Yeah. No, they were old friends.
Yep.
No, I am really thrilled that I had the chance to watch Kay work a bit. It was a horrible film, but it came through the shop and she was there and she was line editor on a few things too, so that was neat. But she supervised with Mark Mangini the what was it, Son of the Pink Panther or something. It was the one that
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Roberto Benini,
Yeah.
his
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
his very brief turn as Clouseau, which I mean, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant, but it just didn't work.
It didn't translate, did it?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
But Kay was just watching her work and go through the tracks and, hearing the click and taking the razor blade. And, just it was astounding just how good and how much attention she paid to that. And, she'd listen to a sequence and hear everything that was wrong with it. And I was still learning and what's wrong with that? And she would say, well, there's a tick here, there's a tick. And she knew the syllables just by hearing it once. It's pretty wild. And then Bill, is what he did was just masterful. He was as the lead dialogue mixer on all these and the supervisor of the mix, just going through all this material. And yeah, with a dialogue heavy film like that, the time that must have been taken for that,
Well,
yeah.
the funny joke is his on Raiders of the Lost Ark, he was so happy when the monkey died because the monkey, oddly enough, was in the dialogue tracks.
Yeah, well, he was
And
cut as like ADR. It was Frank Welker, and it
yeah,
was just yeah.
and he was thoroughly annoying. So when the monkey bit the dust,
Yeah,
Dad did a little jig because he didn't have to deal with a monkey anymore.
that's really funny.
And it's
There's
just some of the things that happen that
yeah.
that drive you crazy. And of course, nobody who's watching the film, ultimately the final film,
Yeah.
doesn't even know what happened when you're going through it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, Lisa, I know that Christine was mixed at Goldwyn,
yeah, stage
stage A, and then the thing was done in D,
yes.
and then so was the Kurt Russell one. I mean, the other Kurt Russell one, Escape from New York.
He's in most of Carpenter's films.
Yeah. Was it? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, that's very cool. Let's talk briefly about Christine, then I'll get back to LV. You're actually involved in that, aren't you? LY, you've got you sweetened some things with vocals and things like that. Was that you or? Yeah. Can we talk about that?
With Christine, thing? Yes.
Yeah.
That was my first foray. Since I had proper vocal training, I knew how to be careful with my voice.
Yeah.
And David wanted some female growls and yells and all sorts of tigress moments. And so he took me on a dub stage on Riverside Drive in Toluca Lake. Mm-hmm. And for 8 hours, we sat there and did all sorts of growls and strange noises. Mm-hmm. And those are put into the actual film.
Yeah.
There was another part for Christine, which is kind of funny. There's a scene where Alexander Paul is choking. She's in Christine, and Christine doesn't like her and wants to get rid of her. And Alexander Paul could not choke. So I had to choke for her. And John was behind me for this particular sequence. And he just said, okay, I'll tap you on the shoulder to start, tap you to stop, and so on and so forth. And those stages are expensive. Yeah. So, okay, he started tapping, and then all of a sudden he just stopped. And I went, okay, there's something that must be wrong because he should be tapping, but I'm just going to do this because we got to get off of the stage. Mm-hmm. So the lights come up, I turn around, and all the crew is there. And they were laughing their pants off. And I said, what's so funny? He said, you grossed out John Carpenter.
Wow. That's quite an effort. That's a horror director that gets grossed out. That's resume material.
That I had to do it. Yeah. It looked like I was trying to strangle myself to death. So
yeah.
As all those strange things are, yes.